introductions. My name is Carl Bourne. Since 1997, I've been the editor of most of the Evangelion manga that have been released. And let's introduce our panelists.
Hi, I'm Rocco. And this is Garrett.
Hello.
And,
he speaks for me.
I do. And we're from a group called Mega 64. We make a lot of comedy videos and stuff centered around video games, so it's kind of strange that we're here. But in our free time, we've done lots of for whatever reason, just because we're fans, I guess, a lot of discussion and analysis videos about Evangelion.
Yeah.
And of course, I collect all the toys, and he has tattoos.
Yeah,
so.
Our credits on the, you'll have to excuse my voice. We've been doing 4 days at this booth down on the show floor, but yeah, they credited me with having multiple Ava tattoos and you having an extensive figure collection in the program.
Oh yeah, so obviously that makes us qualified.
Yeah, very, very qualified.
It's literally etched into your skin.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity, Carl.
Yes, thank you.
So, as I mentioned, I have Evangelion manga. Some of the Evangelion manga Dark Horse releases are the Shinji Ikari Racing Project, Campus Apocalypse, Shinji Ikari Detective Diary, Neon Genesis Evangelion Comic Tribute, and today we're announcing a new Evangelion manga we're doing. Tony Takizaki's Neon Genesis Evangelion. Tony Takazaki is a very old friend of Gainax. Some of you may remember he did the AV Police manga. He has his personal style is very realistic. It's somewhat reminiscent of Katsuro Otomo, but he has an uncanny ability to imitate other artists. And this manga runs in Young Ace magazine, which is actually where Yoshiyuki Sadamoto's original Evangelion runs. But even though it's a parody of Evangelion, it's usually voted the second or third most popular manga in the magazine every month. And as you see, he has a pretty good imitation of Sadamoto that comes in. Yeah, so he has a somewhat different perspective on Evangelion. The point of the manga is to sort of say some things that really need to be said in Evangelion, but nobody has dared really express before. Like, for example, how to really run race hard. Got a little smile there in the lower right corner. So many of you have heard that Evangelion is inspired in part by Ultraman, rubber suit shows. But he wondered, what would Evangelion look like when we're literally a Japanese live-action show? So you have a variety of AV units, and then you have the Sachiel and I think Sahakuyo in the lower left, which is obviously two guys in a suit.
I can never pronounce any of the angel names.
I think they're Hebrew, so...
Yeah, my hats are off here.
I've only seen them written.
Manzai, what's it called? The traditional Osaka, two-man stand-up comedy. Shinji and Kaoru will do that too. You imagine they have a lot of double entendres together. He tells the story of how Ritsuko met Gendo when she was young, and it pretty much turned out exactly as you might expect. I can't believe Ritsuko was ever a schoolgirl, but I guess she was. And do you remember in episode 19 when the Ava goes bestial and starts, crawling around on all fours? Well, he thought, let me start flinging its dookie as well. Giant assault on nerves. So yeah, that will be coming out next year. We're going to talk about all aspects of Evangelion, but I wanted to briefly discuss an aspect of Evangelion that you might have heard of, but we don't really see too much in the US. I guess you guys know what pachinko is. And pachinko is the traditional Japanese form of pinball. It's played in an upright machine. Pinball has kind of died out in the US. It's just kind of a boutique thing. But pachinko is still huge in Japan. It's the #1 recreation. I think the two richest guys in Japan, one of them is the guy who owns Uniqlo, and the other one is the guy who owns all the pachinko games. So what is this magazine here? This magazine is a guide to how to play an Evangelion pachinko game. I say a Evangelion pachinko game because there have been over a dozen of them in the last 10 years. This particular one is called The Angels Have Returned. They made 197,000 of these games. And remember, these are mechanical games. If we estimate that each game makes between $500 and $1,000, it's a form of gambling. You don't technically you don't win any money. You win prizes, but then you go around the corner and turn the prizes in and get money for them. But so okay, they made 197,000 units of this game. This game came out in 2008. If we estimate that each game made between $500 and $1,000, that means this single game made more money than all of the rebuild films.
That's insane. Wow.
We're talking as much as $200 million. So this is the real moneymaker when it comes to Evangelion.
I need to get into pachinko.
You may know that pinball games used to be common to have like Addams Family pinball games or pinball games which were related to some movie that was coming out. That's extremely common in Japan. Pachinko games, they're very fancy. They come with LED screens there, and they're all branded according to TV shows or anime. And probably the movies are, some people would say the movies are nothing more than advertisements for pachinko games.
I was always impressed, the pachinko games that I've seen have full motion video of like new animation.
Yes, exactly. They will make new animation that
Just for the machine.
You have to unlock as you play the game. So this is what's inside that magazine. Notice those odds numbers and percentages. This is sort of telling you like how to play the game and what your odds are given certain screens. Because you unlock certain screens of Ray saying this or Ray doing that. So for example, Ray running down the street with a toaster now. That's going to happen 1,097,432 times.
Wow. Rare.
So keep playing. This is a character that was created. She's a pachinko fan, an Evangelion fan. She's a 27-year-old office lady. So basically, she symbolizes the average Japanese woman who likes Evangelion and who likes pachinko. So her dream is to, be an Eva pilot. Of course, she lives in modern-day Tokyo, but she can experience it vicariously through the game. And there in the back, you see advertisements for some of the big arcades in town where you can play it. So anyway, I think at this point I just want to discuss some of these, various diverse aspects, but there are so many things we can talk about with Evangelion, which is why I asked our panelists to be here today, because just any one or two aspects, there's no way that can cover the entire phenomenon. How would you guys like to begin? What's your perspective?
Well, first of all, I should get this out of the way. I loved the third movie, the third rebuild movie. I get an email about that. I just want to get that out of the way because I get like a dozen emails a day, like, "Oh, dude, how much did you think that sucked?" I really enjoyed it.
Let's start from there. What were the things that you really enjoyed about it?
Well, I think that something that I've come to expect from Evangelion is you're not necessarily going to walk away from something, completely satisfied or like. What I just
It's the tradition.
I just can't believe that people would expect to walk away from that with a bow on.
Did anyone walk away from episode 26 satisfied? Did anyone walk away from the end of Evangelion satisfied?
Yeah. So, but I understand. I don't think it's like crazy to dislike it or anything like that. I think that it really was kind of like unsettling, and there were a lot of aspects of it. Yeah, I mean, it didn't really conclude, but it ended on it to be continued, so that was fine with me. It's like, I guess if the next one doesn't really address anything in this movie, I'll look back and kind of be like, oh,
I was
a
hoping
little
the
bit.
DVD would have 5 minutes of extra footage of just Asuka dragging Shinji over like rocks.
Yeah, as long as I get
great,
that.
drag more.
You're really treating them like hell.
But I don't know. I just felt like I saw it as a movie where I was meant to be disoriented, and I left it disoriented.
Yeah.
So mission accomplished. I don't know.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. But I get it. Like they gave everybody what they wanted and more. They underpromised and over-delivered. I think with the second movie, and it was such a I think fans everywhere just got something out of that one. That this one, when it went the other way and just kind of oh, we're not going to give you everything you want necessarily. It was hard to
I'm surprised though that it had such a backlash because the time, spoiler, but the time skip alone was such a huge surprise, I think,
Yeah.
in 3.0. It's something that Eva's never done, so.
You know, it's the best, it's made the most money of any of the Evangelion movies thus
Oh,
far,
really?
so.
Oh, wow. I didn't know.
Really, I suppose a lot of the back, you know, often the people who are the most negative are the most vocal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe,
YouTube comments.
the thing I liked best about the movie was Misato's mutiny. I like, she should have done that a long time ago. Misato and Kaji are my favorite characters in the series. And if Shinji just listened to Misato being in the film, don't do anything, then, of course, the film would be 20 minutes long. And Ritsuko, I admired her because for walking away from Gendo, because, you know, she was, in the original story, she was ready to do a kind of murder-suicide.
Yeah.
The fact she was able to break away from him, that's some character growth, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me too, like it's, I don't know, some people are whatever on this, but my favorite character has always been Gendo. Because I really like characters that walk that like line of, is this this show's villain or not, you know, and the fact that Misato almost kind of became our second Gendo.
What do you think about the fact that Gendo, you know, he's now wearing Keel's visor? It's almost as if to say there's no difference really between those two guys.
Yeah.
It's like in the series, you almost felt sorry for him in the end, especially towards the end of Evangelion. But now he's kind of cemented himself as, yes, a solid villain in this rebuild franchise.
Yeah, I mean, he's down there in that tomb basically. With
Yeah.
Fufuski still claims he's like, you know, doing this for Yui's sake. Why doesn't he just admit he's doing it for Gendo's sake? And
He's fooling himself.
Ray is like, if you took the original Ray and ran her through a copier, then ran that copy through a copy, and then ran that, she's almost not there anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I was just happy to give him the visor because it made like figures of him look cooler.
Yeah. It all comes back to figures, man. You rushed right out and got
I
that.
got that Sega statue.
Yeah.
That was cool.
I was surprised that people it's a very grim film. It's like,
Yes.
if the end of Evangelion gives you the apocalypse, this is like the post-apocalypse that they've
Clerks had a great reference for the character's favorite Star Wars film being Empire Strikes Back because it has the better ending, the down ending. And that for me too, 3.0 ends on such a like, oh man, Shinji messed up. Like I connect with that story, like let's see what the next one has, but
You know, maybe he
I like
shouldn't
that.
pilot a robot.
Yeah.
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
And since when did Asuka become the irresponsible person?
Well, I guess that time skip, she really grew up.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I'm most that was most interesting to me. I'm you know, and again, I'm the kind of person that likes having that kind of carrot being dangled. You know, I don't necessarily.
There's an angel attack. Careful.
I think it is Sahakura.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, not really knowing what happened in that time gap, and especially, you know, with Asuka, that was one of the things that fascinated me the most. Was again like just how she was acting and throwing around the term Lilin, you know, stuff like that. I'm most kind of intrigued at what she must have gone through in that time.
She's got pretty strong, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll just be curious to see if they even go to that, or if they're just gonna kind of leave that time gap as its own little mystery. You
See,
know, I don't-
I'm expecting in Final, the next rebuild movie, that we get at least some answer in that. That's like the biggest thing for me is I want to know what happened over that time gap.
Mhm.
The aesthetic that they've drawn in, like Asuka's plug suit being damaged, having like tape repairing parts of it, everything's like hacked together because they've stolen it all from Nerve.
Mhm.
I want to see how that military faction was formed and put together.
Well, did you get the impression that the people in Willa, that they're the last people left on Earth, except for the people in Earth?
I don't know, because don't they mention some area that they're going to towards the end of the movie that might contain the rest of the Lilim? Is that what Asuka says at the end of the film?
That's true.
That's the great thing about Eva, and we did, I guess one of our credits, we did a big 4-hour Eva 3.0 spoiler cast, and we just
How do
talked.
we fill 4 hours?
We did 4 hours of just
Yeah, the movie's
talking
only
about like, we think this might mean this. Of course, we're totally wrong on half of it, but that's a great thing. It's all left up to interpretation because Anno leaves it so vague.
I love the trailers where you went like they didn't tell you anything. There's the Kaoru and Shinji playing the piano.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a breath
Which
of
for a
fresh.
lot of the audience was the most important scene.
Yeah, well, it was a breath of fresh air, you know, in a world where we normally get trailers that tell you everything.
Too much.
I would much rather have a multicolored piano playing. I'm already seeing this. Like, was there any doubt you were gonna like?
You know-
Did anyone watch that clip of the piano and go, you know what? I think I'm out.
You know, Kaoru was really romantic the way you took the collar off Shinji and put it on your own wall.
Was.
Did it never occur to you that you might get a bit traumatized, you know, when he saw your head blow up? Kaoru never thinks these things through.
You shouldn't turn the video feed off.
I know.
One button.
But I think going back to that with that, I think there's too much. Just me personally, I think there's too much like specific information in that time gap to not go back to that.
Yeah.
I think we were given so many like almost like plot points, like these things growing out of the buildings and
Which is
Infinity Series, things like that. Yeah.
Visual cues that tie back into like end of Eva stuff almost.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
Can we get stuff that we didn't even get an explanation in end of Eva?
Yeah, I think there's too many specific little details for them to not go back to that at all. So if I had to predict anything, I think they will go back to that stuff. But I think this whole thing about like, oh, is it a sequel? Are the rebuild movies a sequel? I think that will be left. I don't think they'll ever at any point.
No, and they shouldn't because
Right? I mean,
that's,
I think that's just isn't that just like the perfect thing to leave you on?
Yeah.
Like, was it or not?
Well, one thing I was
You know?
curious about is, you know, I can understand why they, you know, put him under an explosive collar and all that. But why were they questioning at the beginning? Why did they think that he wasn't the person that he appeared to be? They seemed to be like interrogating him. to
That's
see
true,
if he
too.
was really Shinji Ikari. So what happened? to those-
So much could have happened in that time period, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. I just think we have too many little like.
But just like that, like that's the
Fine
best
points like
example
that, yeah.
of there's so many questions that come up that I've thought of about 1,000 of them, but then you just presented one that's never even entered my mind. And I think the way that film kept it so vague is what really draws in hardcore Eva fans to it.
But that's what's really difficult about it is like, what can this fourth movie be? Because everyone who's a fan, I think of Eva is of split mind. Because at least I am. Half of me wants the information download.
Yeah.
Like just give me all this.
Like-
but then the other half of me, if I got that, if the next movie was all that, just information on what happened, then the other half of me is going to be like, where was my kind of like weird, introspective,
Yeah.
like.
You know, the fourth movie's probably going to be recap episode.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
Don't catch me up.
I trolled again.
Fill in the gaps.
If they did that and it ended on, all right, see you movie 5.
Yeah.
I mean, half of me be mad, but the other, man, I'd be.
Hey, it's more
Well, that'd be
content.
funny. Next year is 2015. That's the year Evangelion takes place.
Yeah.
You just cheered for the end of the world. You got to sit down.
Yeah, but the end of the world is going to have such great merchandise.
That's true. That's true, and a great soundtrack. We just sang karaoke the other night and ended the night on.
Oh, Calm Suds Are Tall, yeah.
Is that how you say it? Yeah, and it was that. It was a night killer. It was terrible. Everyone, we had a great night, and then we left just okay.
Well, I was also talking to a Japanese fan about use of Beethoven's Ninth in Evangelion. He said that is traditional music that you play in Japanese shopping malls around New Year's, and I would not have known that. He said, you know, they always play that. There's always someone on the piano playing that. So that's the association Japanese people have.
Oh, okay, wow. That would have bummed me out.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should take some questions from the audience, see what's on your mind.
Yeah. We got a mic up front if you guys want to line up.
Is this thing working? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, let me just say real quick. Have you guys seen the people? I don't know who they. I haven't seen them without their costume, but they're cosplaying as Unit 1 and Unit 0 and Unit 2, right? Is that Are those incredible or what? Yeah. I couldn't believe that. I've seen their photos everywhere. It's really, really incredible. I saw Unit 1's head over there, and I wasn't sure if it was him, but it is a Unit 1, maybe not that one. Anyway.
Yeah, if people are interested in seeing them, they're usually in the main hall, so I'm not sure if they're here today.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they look incredible.
Yeah. I know we all have hundreds of questions, but like basically, mine is about Mari, and I know that the introduction of that character was really probably a good thing for Rocco since he collects a lot of figures and you know you got that merchandise. But I'm not sure if you know maybe it will be answered in the fourth film. It just seems like she's an unnecessary character or somebody who was introduced maybe to sell more products and to kind of strengthen the brand.
Sure.
You know, so I'm just wondering, what's your take on the character? And
She's unnecessary, she has glasses.
that's why they were missing the glasses character. They needed that person, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely weird because I feel like it's always had Eva has always had this like almost kind of anti-otaku vibe, and then you have a character like, oh yeah, she's there to sell toys. It's like, oh, well, you know. So I don't know. I mean, part of me wants to have kind of a big payoff to that character in the last one. I think there will be, but you know.
I think maybe when they introduced her in 2.0, a lot of people thought, is this character unnecessary? Is this just to sell more merchandise? Which, side note on the merchandise, why don't they make more Shinji figures? We get all three girls in racing costumes, Christmas outfits, but there's not one decent
Well,
Shinji
we
figure.
do a manga called the Shinji Car Racing
That's
Project.
true.
Shinji's not
Shouts
appeared on
out.
the cover since Volume 2.
Yeah. They love those girls.
Yo,
But,
Ray, I love you. Take a step back.
But I think in 3.0 you're starting to see the development of Mari's character. She definitely has this camaraderie with Asuka now. They've got the buttons on her hat, and one represents her, one represents Asuka. Like, I feel like there's a team up, and we're going to get a lot more integration with her character in this new storyline. So,
I think one reason for her is the original Evangelion story eventually built up a chemistry of sorts between the three main Eva pilots. But by the end of 3, really Rei and Shinji are sort of out of the equation. Mari, I think, in a sense, is sort of a substitute for the pilots who are no longer part of that sort of
that makes sense.
And also, I mean, theoretically, if you remember in Shinji's class, everyone in there was a potential Eva pilot. So there's always built into the idea, I mean, he told you he was going to be a pilot.
Yeah.
There was always the idea that there were going to be more pilots. So I guess perhaps Gynax felt it was not so unnatural to bring her in.
Mm-hmm. But her character's so interesting because she's this spy who can parachute into the city and is somehow tied in with Kaji. I mean, you don't really...
And her English is so much better than Kaji's.
Yeah, yeah, oh God.
Oh yeah. Okay, so 2.0 with Eva 2.0. I got to see that. I was really stoked. I was in Japan when it came out, so I got to see it in theaters. I knew it wasn't going to be subtitled. It was whatever. I'm gonna take it in. And that was the most. I thought I was freaking out when that movie started and they were speaking English. I was like, wait, and what? And then. But that part when Kaji talks, it's scary. It's like, what is going on?
Reduced to just bones.
I was the only white dude in the theater, and I was looking around.
I thought this was in Japanese, right?
Yeah, that was really weird for me. That I think was for me the scariest scene.
The first dialogue is all perfect English accents because they're on that base where they're all American nerve agents. That's cool.
Anyway.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
Oh, there.
Hey.
I was wondering, like, I'm not sure if you really discussed this because I've never really listened to your stuff, but what is your opinion on 25, 26, and Evangelion? Is it like separate, or is it concurrent, or whatever?
I've always regarded them, I've always been able to look at them separately. I don't necessarily feel the need to sort of reconcile them. That may seem like a bit of a cop-out, but I can enjoy both endings on their own merits.
I had always heard when I first got into the show back in the 90s that the last 2 episodes of the show were kind of going on in Shinji's head, and then End of Evangelion is what's physically happening in reality.
Yeah, that's my exact thought. As well.
Okay. So, and that's always been a way that I've kind of interpolated it to make sense for me.
Yeah, for me, it's always been, I think both endings are kind of about like making peace where you are. And I think the show, it's just like, oh, there's all these strange things happening, but I made peace with that. And the movie just kind of takes the same idea but further, where it's like, well, no, if I could be happy anywhere, I'm going to get back to where I was. And so I think kind of, I don't know.
I don't, just the end, the tone of the ending of episode 26, and the end, think about the end of Evangelion ends. Like, think about that last scene. It seems so different from.
Yeah.
So to me, Evangelion is something that I'm usually, I'm always excited to experience and to feel but I don't necessarily try to integrate and understand everything. I'm not sure if that's possible.
I think, yeah, because in my mind, I think that, that congratulations is when Shinji finally, Shinji's with Asuka, and she's finally, congratulations, you finally got on this hellhole of liquid goo, so.
Have any of you guys ever seen that show from the 1960s, The Prisoner?
I have always meant to.
The Prisoner was an influence on Evangelion. Misato actually quotes it at one point to Shinji saying, "You are number one."
Oh, wow.
And the last two episodes of Evangelion, of The Prisoner, were specifically an influence in the last two episodes of The Prisoner, of Evangelion.
Really?
You should check it out.
I'm going to that.
I remember when I was watching Lost, people were telling me that all the time.
It's one of the most
Oh, Prisoner is
influential.
what-
Yeah, there never would have been a Lost if it hadn't been for a Prisoner.
That's crazy. Wow. I need to check that out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
One of the things that I really liked about the third movie is that it actually did remind me in a lot of sense of the last two episodes of the TV series in the way that the mythology works. Essentially, that you completely throw out everything that people know about the Avas and the angels, and you leave them very confused. It's almost like the same thing that they did with the TV show, and just saying, put that stuff aside. Because what I really liked about it was like the way that they portrayed the characters. I actually thought that in the third movie, the characters' motivations, why they are the way they are, particularly Shinji and Kaoru, was much more clear, much more concrete than they ever were in the TV series or the movies and even the manga. I have to say that Shinji's relationship with Kaoru is actually, that's the best that I've seen in the third movies. Is the most believable how their relationship develops and what the climax of that relationship is about. But also in that regard, one of the other things that I liked about the third movie is that this is the first time you actually see everyone is on the same page. Everyone knows what instrumentality is, whereas in the end of Evangelion, only basically Misato knew. And at that point, they still wanted Shinji to pilot the Eva. This movie, no one wants him to pilot the Eva. Not him, not Misato, not anyone, maybe him. So that's one of the things I really like about it, is that we're finally now at a point where he doesn't want to pilot, no one wants him to pilot, and that's actually something that's never been done in the story before, and that's why I really like the direction they're going with it. But getting back to that question of the characters who do not want him to pilot, for me, and I want to get your opinion on this character, for me, the character that stands out the most in the third movie is actually Sakura. Next to Kaoru, she's the only one who acts in some sort of polite and caring way towards Shinji. At the same time, she's also one of the most characters who's most vehemently against him piloting the Eva again. And then there's also the question of what happened with her brother.
Yeah.
And Shinji feeling like the worst case scenario could have happened to him. So that leaves me very, compared to a lot of the other characters, that leaves me very questioning about what her motivations and what her desires
Well, you
are
wonder
in the
whether
story.
Toji gave her a good impression of Shinji, told her good things about him.
Yeah, so that's really just my question is if you guys have any opinions about what her character's role is, or if there's some sort of way to understand what her motivations are towards Shinji, and the fact that she's being polite to him, but she's also vehemently against him doing anything.
Yeah, it just makes you wonder what happened with
Yeah,
Toji in that
exactly
time.
as you
Like,
said, if
something
Toji,
tragic maybe.
did Toji leave a good impression on her of who Shinji was when they were in school, etc.?
Maybe, Toji was kind of a regular person, and, one of the big, I think, thematic struggles in Evangelion is humanity versus not inhuman, transcendent. And there's a lot to be said for humanity in Evangelion. Gendo, I think, hates the pain of being human, and Shinji often hates it too. But one reason I like Misato and Kaji is that they're very flawed people, but they're still good human beings. And I always thought that Misato and Kaji are what like Asuka and Shinji could have grown up to be. not people who are completely normal, not people who are completely healed, but good people. And they kind of, Misato and Kaji are kind of the reminder that there's a lot to be said for humanity. So maybe what Sakura is trying to do is she's polite to Shinji because she wants him to be a human being, and making him a naval pilot makes him less of a human. It's funny because it gives him purpose,
Yeah.
but it actually is making him he's making him part of a sort of apocalyptic, monstrous, inhumane thing.
It's making him his dad's pawn.
Right, pleasing his dad,
Yeah.
but it's not like, it's not love. It's like, it's horrific. So.
And I know I've seen the Sakura. Is it Sakura? How do you pronounce it?
Sakura.
Sakura. I'm always bad with that. I've seen the figures out on the show floor, Rocco. So.
Oh, yeah. Going back to what you were saying though in the beginning though, that was I agree with you. That was one of the reasons I like the third movie so much is the kind of how everything suddenly was unfamiliar. I really liked that because I felt like the movie had this whole theme of like letting go of what's familiar, opening yourself up to new things, and so I thought actually going as far as to making all the characters alien, like I don't even recognize, is that Misato? Like everyone remembers when the first images came out after the movie was released. It was just like, is Ritsuko in that? That's her? Like, but really in Japan, like the way anime works there now is like every character of every show is like strategically like, oh, people will like this character and this character. It's all mapped out. And so to take something that they had, a formula they had so perfect and just suddenly kind of like ugly them up and like, and suddenly they're not who they're not the characters you loved 10 years ago. I thought was just really bold, and I thought that to me was a really interesting move.
Has anyone seen the old Dynax series, Nadia?
Yeah.
Misato kind of reminded me of Captain Nemo.
What you said about 3.0 and the character development between Shinji and Kaoru was huge because we never got that. What was he on screen? 12 minutes in the show.
Something like that.
So we got that character development with him and Shinji in 3.0 because they spend almost the entire movie together. And then you also get a lot of this new Rei and Shinji and his frustration with her. I think the movie pushes the character a lot further.
Well, thank you. It's all right. Let's get the next question.
Right.
Hello.
Hello.
This is about speculation for 4.0, but if you recall at the end of 2.0, they showed a lot of stuff that wasn't in 3.0, such as the tiny rays and
Yeah.
I think Mark 6 coming in and some other things with Kaoru, but it seemed like all of that was stuff that wasn't even touched in 3.0. I wonder if you believe too if that might be what they showed in 4.0. If not, or if they're just going to get rid of it and include this somewhere.
I think the biggest image that I saw in that was the Gendo and Fuyutsuki with the donkey.
Where were the donkeys? There was almost no donkeys in the third movie.
They were younger. They were mountaineering some type of peak. I don't understand exactly,
But yeah, we never got a payoff to that, and then we get this time jump where they're older. So I hope that there is some explanation of some of that in final.
I'm of the belief that that's all stuff that happened during the time skip.
It would make sense. Yeah.
I just think that, I don't know what you guys think. I think it is way too coincidental that not one thing from that preview made it. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people say like, oh, the script for the third one changed over time, but for not one thing to turn up, I think is a little suspicious. I think that's all stuff that happened.
He knows what he's doing as far
I
as
think so.
suspense and messing with his fan base.
I think so. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. To point out problems with 3.0 I had was the time skip itself. And basically, there was technically, in my opinion, area that would have allowed, or at least kind of like, this is what kind of happened, one side for Vil, and the other side for Nerv. For Vil would be Toji's sister, and for Nerv would be, well actually, Gendo, I should point out, would be with, I forgot his name all of a sudden.
Fuyutsuki. Yeah.
Those two moments would have actually kind of helped, kind of ease most of the pain, but that was my biggest problem. Other than that, the fan service, I'm only going to point this out because it's not really easy for most people to figure it out, but there's a huge fan base for Shinji Rei or Shinji Asuka. It's fully defined in 3.0, but you have to have a very good perspective. It's told by Fuyutsuki that Rei is technically Shinji's mother, genetically. And what Asuka says to him first, after she punched the wall, was saying that's for the pain and grief. And what Mari says right after he pulls him out, I forgot what she said, but those points will actually point out that area. But back to the time skip, do you think those 2 points will actually heal most of the problems? Yes or no? Sorry, it's very.
I know, it's very. I don't know exactly what we're gonna get. I mean, no one does except for Ano, but I think in the end everything's gonna get wrapped up to. I mean, there's gonna be people who are gonna be disappointed, but I think most people who trust him and his filmmaking are gonna approve of what happens.
Thank you.
I think this is too complicated. We should have just talked about Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hey.
So I know we already had a question about Mari, just kind of going back to Mari, and the thing about her is that I want her to be a good, interesting character so badly. Like, I want her to have some development in the fourth movie, and the reason why she sticks out to me is because she seems to be the only person who actively enjoys being an Ava pilot. Like, you could argue that Asuka likes it, but she does it for approval. Shinji does it for approval. Rei does it because she thinks that that's the only thing she should do. So, like, you know, what do you think of that? Why is she just, like, acting like it's the most fun thing she's ever done in her life?
The other, Rei, Asuka, Shinji, they all had strange things happening with mother figures. We don't know anything about Mari's mother. That would, you know, that's sort of canon that if you're an Evangelion pilot that something happened. We were never told about Toji, like there was something there. But I don't know. I mean, it is great. That does set her apart, that her enthusiasm, the fact that she really loves this. Maybe that's an element in itself, just sort of saying that maybe it is just the personalities that Asuka and Shinji and Rei have. You don't have to be like that. Because Toji didn't seem very much like a Shinji. And he was qualified to be an Eagle pilot.
He was really affected by what was going on with his sister in the original show. Like, that was something that really bummed him out. But that's
But he's a pretty regular guy.
yeah.
And after 3.0, I saw a lot of dialogue about Mari living inside of her entry plug as well. Just because of all the trash.
Yeah, I was gonna
she's
say
got
that-
like
that-
snack wrappers and
That was
shit
good art
everywhere.
direction, all the snack wrappers.
Yeah.
and stuff.
So it is interesting you point that out. That she truly loves piloting, whereas these other characters don't. So I hope we get some type of, and I think we will. I don't think they created this character just like we said before for figures and merchandise. I think it's going to really pay off.
Thank you.
That's why we're recording this, because I really want to watch what we're saying right now after the fourth one
Oh
comes
yeah,
out.
see how wrong we
See
are.
how
on everything.
stupid we look. Mari wasn't even in the fourth one. What happened? It was all Pen.
Alright, so does this panel basically confirm Reggie Fils-Aimé being in Evangelion?
What are you talking about? We did a video for Nintendo recently where we had the president of Nintendo. We made a mecha version of him and I was piloting him. And yeah, if you watch that video, I tried to sneak as many Ava references in it as possible. And when it runs out of power, I mean, on all these little monitors, you could look and see it's the same.
It's
timer
the same graphics from Eva.
with the flashing zero after like the battery died. You know. Anyway, I was like, this will be right under Nintendo's radar. I thought someone would catch it, and then I was like, okay, we just put it up. It's like, oh, I guess it would.
Was that the question?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good question.
Hey, so I guess really quick, I don't really know you guys. My brother knows you guys.
Hell yeah, shouts out.
Yeah, but I guess my question kind of slightly more focused on the TV series, just because for me personally, the movies I see them as an AU. I don't see this as a continuation. I see this as maybe a timeline that could have happened as opposed to the original, most because that's the series I grew up with, and that kind of ruined me as a child. But one thing I actually got from both the TV and the movies is that the movies seem to be more focused on emotion, while the TV series seems to be more focused on psychology. There seems to be a separation of, kind of just separation. So, I mean, in the TV series, the psychology is mirrored in all the relationships and all the trauma and everything that goes on with the characters, while in the movies, the emotion is just the characters interacting. So I guess, just wondering what your analysis is, do you think that the TV series could have worked as well originally if it had been a more emotional focus like the movies instead of a psychological focus?
I think that, first of all, the TV series is longer, so there's time to develop the characters more as, as psychological beings. The movies tend to have an emphasis on action and passion and like strong feelings. I definitely think the original series is its own thing for no other reason than the fact that Gainax was making it at a very stressful time. No one was quite sure how it was going to work out. Nobody knew it would be a big hit. And so I think you can really feel the passions of the creators and the personal feeling. I think there's a lot of personal emotion. I always say that most anime are a mask, but Evangelion was a face. There's a human being. You can feel the real people who are making the series. It wasn't just done by a committee of writing members. But I think the separation you make between the emotional nature of the films and the psychological nature is quite good.
I think too, Sadamoto has his audience by the balls now, because everyone knows about the series, and now he's got the clout to go make these movies and just screw with everyone's head. I mean, I'm sorry, Anno. So he knows what we all expect from these characters. So then when stuff happens in the rebuild that's totally opposite, it leaves you with your memory looking at something going, oh yeah, I remember how this happened. Wait, it happened different this time? I think he has a lot more freedom now to do what he wants to do. So whereas in the show, yeah, he's definitely trying to set up these characters, teach you all about them, and then in the rebuild, he's just, hey, we're going to screw with what you think about these guys.
Yeah, and also you already have a connection to a lot of those characters. Most people seeing these movies have a connection to those characters, so there's less of a need to really dig into them quite as much. And now, yeah, you can play emotionally with them. Just like, the whole thing between Shinji and Rei at the end of the second movie was so powerful because you spent 10 years with those characters, or more, for a lot of people.
Well, thank you. Just wanted to get into it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Hello.
So I was going to ask on your opinion. So I'm a huge fan of Evangelion, and I'm also a huge fan of Stanley Kubrick's movies. Do you think that Anno is just inspired by, especially in 2001, Space Odyssey, Clockwork Orange? Do you think he was making, especially like with Beethoven's Ninth Symphony playing the 24th episode? Or no, wait, was it? Yes. Okay.
All the Beethoven in general. I'm glad you brought that up, because when you were speaking about Beethoven earlier, my mind first went to where I heard that music was Kubrick films.
Right.
And the fact that he carries it over and puts it in I've never seen an anime with traditional, music in it.
It's funny you
Classical
mention that
music.
because
Yeah, the monolith.
not many people have seen Gainax's first film, Royal Space Force, but it's Kubrick's Barry Lyndon was an influence on that.
Oh, wow.
If you can imagine Barry Lyndon as a film about an astronaut, then
Oh yeah.
that's I hadn't thought of the Clockwork Orange comparisons.
Yeah, and the monolith too, like with sealing sound only.
Right,
It
and of
looked
course,
like a lot like.
there's a scene, I think in episode 6 or 7, where Gendo is on that stratospheric jet, and it's just like the, that, was it
Oh,
what
yes.
Haywood takes in 2001?
Yes.
For me, it was just the way that, like, in End of Eva, when he's in that kind of playground scene, when he's putting the sand together, that whole scene being weirdly symmetrical just really reminded me of 2001, like, Beyond the Infinite kind of stuff. That was when it really hit me that he was influenced. That was mine.
That scene too, when I forget actually if it was in End of Eva or the series, but there's the giant pendulum swinging through an office.
Yeah, that's End of Eva.
That's End of Eva. That symmetrical look of Kubrick it shows up a lot in Anno stuff. So I definitely think he's inspired by other directors that he.
Or it's like a little reference.
Yes.
Like, is it actually all one? It's his favorite anime. Stanley Kubrick's his favorite anime director.
I know even back in the early 80s when Gainax used to sell merchandise, they would sell reproductions of the zero gravity toilet instructions from 2001. There's no doubt they're big fans.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, just want to get another question.
Just a quick comment for my question. I'm actually a recent, because I guess a burgeoning fan of Evangelion because of the rebuild. So I could go back and watch the series, and it's very, very different, to say the least. My question is actually about Eva 4. What would you say is your speculation on Shinji's role in the last film?
I think it's going to be major.
I don't think he's going to be in it.
Nope, not at all. It's a bit
I would
split.
be happy if the entire film was just nothing but Asuka dragging along the ground. How much time do we have left?
About 10.
10 minutes? Okay.
Thank you.
And in comparison with the TV series and rebuild, do you miss the characters being more messed up in the TV series than the movies?
I'm going back watching the TV series and I forgot how funny it was.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much like school humor and like, pranks of everyday life.
Yeah.
And
Well, no, but like for instance, Asuka like wants to is practically throwing herself at the foot of an older adult, and in
That's more-
Evangelion.
there's actually a
she's
scene in
not going-
Evangelion in the television series where she talks about how she was going out with a medical student. And I was like, how old is this guy? Asuka's a college graduate, which is something we don't really make much of. I always thought that Asuka was like, the one reason she was so rude is because she's a genius. And like, if you graduated college at 14, then you
Yeah.
probably are not normally socialized.
You would feel like you were a notch above everyone else.
It's concealed.
Her
but
mom
she's-
doesn't help.
No.
Because of her looks, it's kind of concealed. But I think that she actually doesn't know much about getting along with people, being polite with other people.
Or just like, for instance, Fritzko, I'm sleeping with a man who slept with my mom. And-
Well, there's a lot of messed up things. For some reason, women like him though. So
It's that villain.
I think it's like the evil power, it attracts. It's like Henry Kissinger.
Yeah.
Well, do you guys, or you prefer the happier?
I like it, but I don't know. The show is the show, so I'm down for, I'm fine with the movies existing in a different space.
Yeah. For me, it's more content of the franchise that I'm absolutely obsessed with. So I'm a bit biased because I'm going to enjoy, aside from a live action version, but I'm going to enjoy almost everything that Studio Kara puts out ever related. So.
For me, a television series which is structured, you get half an hour, you get it with 1 week in between. That format is always going to be so different from sitting down and watching a movie for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's going to be inevitable that they're going to have, different expressions. I think the TV series would have been unbearable in like the movies.
Yeah,
No one
I
would have
agree.
sat through a TV series that was that grim and
Slowly
dark,
paced.
And probably, of course, and remember, if it hadn't been for the TV series, there would have been movies. So, we see the movies are very popular, but would they have been? worth the TV?
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you, man. Good question.
So this question is, it's more about the original series and End of Eva than the rebuilds. And it's a question about Shinji and Misato's relationship. Early on, you've got, these kind of slice of life scenes where Misato's like chugging Bud Lights and belching and they're hanging in the tent and stuff. And then you've got a scene in one of the early episodes where Shinji's walking home with the guys and he's kind of saying, man, no one really knows Misato like I do. She's this slob and she's lazy and everyone else, thinks she's hot and stuff and she's not really all that. And one of the guys, I don't remember which one it was, I don't know if it was Soji, but they turn to him and say, you don't get it, do you? That means she's family. But then you've got this scene in End of Eva where they have that moment. When they're
We'll do the rest.
that moment.
Well, this is anime.
Yeah.
Right. And it wouldn't be the weirdest thing in Evangelion, obviously, but is it a romantic thing? Possibly. Or could it also be that, in the last 2 episodes we had that introspection kind of thing. And with Misato, it's kind of like this, she can't be alone. She needs like someone else close to her. Is it an impulsive thing that she did that, with Shinji? Or is there actually, because again, it wouldn't be the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
Is it romantic, Because there have been like these arguments that they had in the series as well. And it's almost like a spouse kind of thing. if you look at it that way.
I
So what is your
wonder-
opinion on that?
Misato must have been pretty sure that she was never going to see Shinji again.
Yeah.
That she probably was going
Yeah.
to live for another 5 minutes. I can understand her kissing her goodbye. The part about we'll do the rest later. I wonder if she thought Shinji thought differently about her than he actually did. Misato is a pretty good person. In some ways, she's a better parent to Shinji than his actual parents. But of course, she has a lot of problems. I mean, I can't see Gendo dying for Shinji. So no, I think she's a rather messed up character. That moment in the TV series where they were thinking episode 23, we were sitting on the bed together, and she puts her hand on his. That kind of gave me a jolt when I first saw it. I wasn't expecting that. Just as Shinji, who at the beginning of the series, and actually for the most part is pretty straight-laced, he doesn't have that great a sense of humor. So he's complaining to Koji and Kensuke, she's a sloth, she's all this. But they say, oh, we see it this way, she's your family. That doesn't mean they completely understand her either.
That's true.
One of the things that comes up, of course, in the final episode of Evangelion is people see each other differently. I'm the person, I'm you inside of you, I'm you inside of you. And it's very hard to ever get a complete sense of people's identity if we only think of ourselves. She's definitely what they call in liberal arts school problematic.
I always interpreted that part as that's kind of the only way she knows how to connect to people.
Yeah.
And she's trying her best to make him feel big in that moment, so he can go on and do something.
Okay, let's get one more question and we'll have the tickets.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So one question that I haven't really seen anyone talk about, but the Tree of Life that's always represented in the Evangelion series. Do you guys think that it's a representation kind of like an Aztec calendar of the end of the world and like for
It's
the apocalypse?
I believe it's taken from the Kabbalah. It's the traditional Jewish mysticism.
Yeah.
Which was later adopted into syncretic systems like the actual diagrams you see in the opening credits. The real diagrams are done by a Jesuit named Anastasius Kircher.
What do they call it? The Sephirotica?
Yeah, the Sephirotic tree.
Yes.
The Sephirotic system. That's interesting. I don't know if there are any. I really think Aztec and Mayan culture is cool, but I don't know if there's any references to that.
Oh yeah, just that the Mayan calendar was supposed to represent like the end of the world or something like.
Well, of course, their end of the world tradition is in various cultures. I was under the impression this was more of a sort of Judeo-Christian end of the world.
I just think it's another thing that look cool.
Yeah. I think Ono said in interviews before that he likes that look, that aesthetic of all that religious iconography being so tied into the show. And I think that's what makes it also so mystical for us, growing up in a culture that Judeo-Christian symbolism and religious iconography exists. It's a way for the community to kind of tie it into their lives as well.
Well, in a few minutes, thank you very much. In a few minutes we have left, we're going to give away a number of Evangelion items.
Ooh.
The first item is a copy of Yoshiyuki Sakamoto's original Evangelion, Volume 12. And I'll just read off the last three numbers of your ticket. This goes to 574. 574.
Oh, we got a winner.
Come on up, please.
Yeah.
Next item will be a copy of Volume 12 of the Shinji Ikari Racing Project. Which you notice again, it's not a Shinji Ikari. Yes, that's right. And this goes to 409. 409.
Oh, right on.
The next is Neon Genesis Evangelion Comic Tribute. These are gag manga of Evangelion by 19 different creators.
Yeah.
Sort of the cracked.com version of Evangelion. And this goes to 308. 308. Congratulations. Next is volume 1 of Shinji Ikari Detective Diary. Shinji and Kaoru live together and solve mysteries. The greatest mystery of all is love. And this goes to 333. 333.
Oh. Yeah, coincidence.
333, you can win.
That's right.
That was terrible, don't lie.
The next item is a Oscar clear file illustrated, of course, by Yoshiyuki Sadamoto.
He was the best artist we could find.
And this goes to 586. 586. 586. All right.
All right.
Oh, got it.
The next item, congratulations. Next item will be a set of stickers from Evangelion 2.0.
Ooh. Sticker set. Yeah, I've never seen that either.
These are all Japanese import items. They're given to us by the publishers, so we'd like to share them with you. And this will go to 532. 532. Congratulations. Go ahead, please. Next item, Evangelion poster calendar.
Look at that. 2014.
Yeah, that's for this year.
That's right, it's like the apocalypse. Our time is right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Not much left.
And this will go to 582. 582. Congratulations.
Oh, he's got it.
Our final item is a figurine of Ray holding a block. He's saying, sorry that I had to gat ya. At what point in the series does Ray ever hold a block?
It's a deleted scene.
Yeah.
That's going to be the 4th movie. Ray, it opens with Ray saying, I'm sick of this shit.
That wasn't bad.
And this goes to 343. 343.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much for all your great questions, and you've been a wonderful audience.
Thank you guys. Thank you for coming.
Please make your way out to the back to the left.